Let's cut the fluff and get real here for a minute, right? Being a pastor is incredibly difficult. The church is often guilty of only painting a picture of the wonderful blessings of being called to ministry, like it only gets better day after day after day. And we somehow forget to talk about the suffering involved. Did we forget, or are we afraid that people won't go into ministry if they know the truth? I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but there are some things that we are failing to prepare new pastors for. So here are some of the things that I wish someone would have sat down and told 20-year-old me. Now, I've spent the last decade learning these the hard way. So these are 20 things I wish I knew before becoming a pastor. Number 1, it will be the hardest thing you ever do. No, seriously, it's really hard. Imagine the most difficult thing that you have ever done and multiply that by 100. That may be close to how hard ministry is. And if you want to be a pastor because it sounds fun or it sounds easy, do something else. Number 2, integrity and love for Christ will not be enough. You have to be able to lead people. Your character and love for Christ are the requirements for entry. These are crucial, more important than anything. However, no matter how godly you are, if you can't lead people, you're going to struggle. Number 3, people will avoid you and act weird simply because you are a pastor. People are going to act one way around you and another way when you aren't there. Others will avoid you simply because you represent God and they feel guilty about something that's going on in their life. And this is why many pastors dread the inevitable question when meeting somebody new. So, what do you do for a living? People are going to avoid you because you're a pastor. It has nothing to do with you, just the title. Number 4, people will expect you to be available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You're going to get midnight phone calls and texts. Some are going to be urgent, others can wait, but they're going to call you anyways. And you'll have to set boundaries in your schedule because a pastor's job is never done. There's always more you can do. And there's always people who want your time and attention. Number 5, workaholism will be rewarded, but it'll destroy your family. Pastors who work too much get praises and raises until their family falls apart. Then we pity them, right? You'll have to choose often between doing ministry and being around for your family. Which one's it going to be? Number 6, when people stop attending your church, it's going to hurt. No matter how awesome you are, some people, they're just going to leave your church. It's inevitable. It may have nothing to do with you, but it always will feel personal. And you've got to learn how to deal with that. Number 7, you'll have to fight the urge to compare your ministry to other churches. And you always lose in the comparison game. If you compare to a smaller church, you're going to feel pride. And if you compare yourself to a larger church, you're going to feel envy. And both are sinful. Number 8, attacks from inside your church will be worse than those from the outside. You will expect some attacks from the enemy outside the church, right? It's the enemy's attacks from within, like Judas's betrayal of Jesus. Those are the ones that hurt the most, and they're coming for you. Number 9, you will not be discipled unless you go seek it out for yourself. The people that you want to mentor you, they're busy people. Nobody has ever seen my great young potential and gone out of their way to disciple me. Every mentor that I've ever had in my life, I had to pursue them, and you will too. Number 10, you'll have to fight pessimism, bitterness, and even depression. You'll have seasons of doubts in God's provision, resentment towards people in your church, and even battles with depression. One of the darkest years of my life was the result of a really bad ministry experience. Number 11, your success in the eyes of others will be measured by how many people that you can get into a room. I wish this weren't true, but it is. If your ministry grows, people will praise you, and if it shrinks down, they'll blame you. And like it or not, that's how people think, and that's how you're going to be evaluated. Number 12, you'll never be good enough. No matter what you do, some people won't like you. You'll never be good enough to please everybody. You will also often feel inadequate and unprepared in your own eyes. And you've got to let this drive you to a greater dependence on Jesus. You're not the Savior that everybody needs, okay? He is. 13, your family will be profoundly affected, either good or bad. Now, like it or not, your ministry will profoundly impact your family. Some families will grow closer to the Lord together in ministry, and others, they get further apart. Ministry is either going to make your family better or bitter. Fight that bitterness. Number 14, without a seminary degree, you'll be considered less qualified. Now, I wish that I would have pursued seminary earlier in my ministry, not just because of the perception, but also because the education has really been invaluable to me. And you can argue about whether or not you need it, but you will be judged if you don't get it. And not getting proper education may hold you back. Number 15, money is going to be a problem. You're going to struggle financially, especially early on. Most pastors are not compensated enough, and you have to be ready for this going into ministry. Will you be okay if you can't buy new clothes, a nice house, or get your wife and kids the things that you wish that you could, the things that your kids are begging you, Daddy, please get me these, Mom, please get me these? It's hard to say no all the time. Money's going to be tight. Number 16, you will likely move many times. The average stay of a pastor at a church varies depending on their role. However, most pastors I know, including myself, have lived in multiple cities, working for multiple churches over their life. The pastor who works in only one church their entire life is admirable and incredibly rare. Number 17, when you have to leave a church, you're going to leave a lot of friends behind too. Whether you choose to leave or that choice is made for you, you're going to lose more than a job. You lose an entire church family. And there's always this just painful sense of loss when leaving a ministry. Your wife and your kids, they're going to feel it too. Know that that's coming. Number 18, spiritual warfare is real, and the enemy will attack you and your family in ways that you never imagined. Every pastor can tell you stories about crazy things that happen just the worst possible times. And if Satan cannot derail you, he's going to go after your family. Now, my family always gets attacked right before God does something great. So pray often and ask others to be praying for you and your family too. Spiritual warfare, that's no joke. Don't skip over that part of the Bible. That's for real stuff. Number 19, you will be discouraged and think about quitting often. Most pastors just call these days Monday. But even if things do go well on Sunday, the enemy's going to use that one negative comment, that one thing that one person said to bring you down if he can do it. You're going to feel discouraged a lot. You got to fight through that and remember your calling. Remember why you got into ministry in the first place. Number 20, it will all be worth it, all right? There is nothing greater than the reward of a life submitted faithfully to following after Christ. You will suffer. It won't be easy, but it will be worth it. Accepting God's call to ministry is one of the best decisions that I've ever made. You will have a front row seat to see lives changed, marriages healed, prodigal sons return home. The impact you leave will outlive your life, and generations of families are going to be changed because you were faithful and you did not give up. Now, if all of this makes you a bit upset, it should. Unfortunately, this is the reality most pastors face every day. Can you relate? What do you wish someone told you before you became a pastor? Thanks for watching. Keep on preaching. Don't give up.